Welcome back. We've been looking at the mobile number portability 22 days after, well, so many people have been porting. Subscribers now have of course, they're now able to make better choices. If they're not happy with one telecoms or service provider, they can always move to the next. Of course, there's still issues over that. That's what we've been looking at this morning. I've been talking to the Director of Public Affairs at the NCC, Tony Ojoba. Now, Tony, let's talk about the service providers themselves.
Yeah.
Obviously, they had to upgrade. Some of them upgrading in the hope that they would have, perhaps an influx of new customers and new subscribers, as it were. Tell us about this. Were they all of them involved? Were they all able to upgrade? Did you keep track of that?
Yes, they have been doing that, and even as we speak, they have continued to upgrade their networks because of the issue of quality of service. At the foundation of porting is quality of service. Most subscribers who today are porting out of their service providers' networks are doing that because of issue of quality of service. And so we believe that the networks, of course, you will have seen in the papers as well, the level of investment. Some of them have actually even mentioned figures in terms of how much they are going to spend on their infrastructure. Because really, essentially, the challenge we're having is the challenge of infrastructure deficit.
Yeah, but that has always been a challenge, and it's often been said before this portability thing came up that the answer to many of these issues that we have in this industry is if only they would just upgrade, their facilities. But now they've been all of a sudden they're able to upgrade.
It's continuous because we also have challenges where you have vandalization, and in certain parts of the country where base stations actually have been destroyed. So all of these have issues on quality of service. They have very, very serious issues because some of those base stations actually are hubs that are not just controlling traffic, because any particular part of this country where you have a hub affected, what it means is that you have traffic diverted to other areas, and that increases congestion on the network. It puts pressure on the network. So there are challenges that contribute to this, but we are looking beyond these challenges and looking at solutions. And that's what I believe that is happening now with the level of investment that is going on. And of course, for any network, for any service provider, you don't need to be told what to do, because really, the competition really is very, very steep. I mean, it's high at the moment. It's at its peak. And we're even just beginning. And, it's going to even get very, 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 very competitive as we go on. And I think that the Nigerian consumer really is the better for it. I mean, because really, you have freedom. What MNP does that, it gives you freedom of choice. Look, I am not locked onto any particular network. I can move anytime. And so that is what puts the network on their toes. They put on their thinking hats and begin to look for creative ways of retaining what they already have. You see, a good number of them now, in as much as they are looking for additional subscribers, a lot of emphasis is on, look, we need to keep what we have. What can we do to keep our subscribers? I can tell you that they are not sleeping. I can tell you that because, from information we're getting, a lot of meetings, a lot of investors are having discussions with them. So we believe that the MNP really has put in additional pressure on the networks. It has also engendered greater competition. So, as a matter of fact, it's now that actually the consumer is the king. He is really the king right now as we speak.
Interesting.
Yes.
Now, what about porting? Because initially when that came out, so NCC did say that there would also be porting for the code division multiple access, the CDMA. What's happening on that front?
Yes, but that would come on the second phase. The first phase is for the GSM networks, and then the next one will be the CDMAs.
Okay. Well, let's
leave fixed.
Okay, let's leave that for now. Let's look deep into the process now. There's this 90-day rule. I'm a subscriber. I port to another subscriber, to another service provider, and I'm not happy after 2-3 weeks, and I want to go back to my former service provider. But then I'm stuck there for 3 months, and some people are not exactly pleased with that.
Well, we have a number of reasons for this. Though the subscriber is not paying, the recipient network is paying for every one that ports into their network.
Every subscriber.
Every porting that is completed on the particular network is paid for by the recipient operator. Now, and the clearinghouse actually is responsible for reconciling accounts between all the parties. Though not because it could be donor here on this side and be a recipient on the other side. So you have issues of reconciliation in terms of, who pays what. And so, and then also there is need for us to maintain sanity of the networks. Because a situation where you have somebody porting like every other day, and then you're talking about a network that has a subscriber base of 116 million. It's huge. So in terms of data management, in terms of processes, administrative processes. So at least for a start, 90 days. Then as we begin to go on in the process, and if, for instance, the Commission thinks that, look, we have gotten to such a stage where we're so mature now that we can reduce the number of days, that can happen. But for now, 90 days to allow for all of the administrative issues that we need to take place. And then also giving enough time to the subscriber to really try out the new network. And that is why we also wouldn't want to encourage frivolous porting. That's also part of why we have 90 days. So that before you port, you actually thought through that, look, I really need to port. It is on, according to need basis now, not just at the spur of the moment because your friends are porting and just want to port. But you will have really thought through it that, look, tariff plan, value for money, billing, and all of that, value-added services that are being offered in a particular network. Those are some of the considerations. Not necessarily just because, well, I want to port. So when you have thought through and you think that there is a need for you to port, in other words, it should be on need basis. I have to port because quality of service is bad on this network. And on the other network, the quality of service is good. So those are the kind of considerations that determine whether to port or not to port. And so when you have done all of that, then you can now port. So I think that it's actually the choice of the consumer whether to port or not to port. But the guidelines for now is 90 days.
Now, I want to believe that this is not exactly, an end in itself. What else can subscribers look forward to in terms of, better service? Because I know, yes, it's not. This is something that has been around as far back as 1997.
Yes,
what
that's
else,
right.
Would the kind of subscribers look forward to in terms of shaping this industry, better service, better, perhaps even liberal terms?
Subscribers can look forward to innovations in terms of, the kind of things that come from networks. They can look at new service offerings. Coming to them. They can also look at billing integrity. They are sure that the bill they are getting is the right bill. They can also look forward to good quality of service. As we begin to, way down the line, from where we started. And then also they can look at real competition, because actually it's competition that determines the kind of value that is offered to some consumers. So the kind of, competition we have now would, you're already beginning to see that. The spillover in other areas, especially even in the advertising company, even for the models themselves that are advertising, that are faces of some of these networks. I believe now people are going to begin to get, maybe higher pays in each time they appear or maybe advertise on a particular network for a particular product or service. So those are the kind of things that we see, happening, and these are adding value. To the economy.
No doubt. Now, for the service providers, obviously they've been talking to you too as you regulate them. What are their major challenges, concerns? What, in terms of feedback, the whole process so far?
Well, the challenges have always been there.
Nothing new, nothing that this
issues of power still remains there. Issues of vandalization still remains there. Then also a challenge of SIM registration. There's still a number of people that have not registered. And then again, we have set a deadline for registration, which is June 30th.
This year? From
June 30th, yes, this year. All unregistered SIMs will be barred from the networks. They will not be able to make calls or receive calls from the 30th of June this year. And so we will have this window of opportunity for people who have not registered. Because if you have not registered, you can port, regardless of how your network is. So this is a window of opportunity for people who have not registered their SIMs to do so before the 30th of June. Otherwise, they'll be barred from the networks, all the networks.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there, Tony. Thank you so much for being on this program. I've had a very good time talking to you on this reporting thing. It's been quite an exciting one.
I know you can now make a decision as to whether to report or not.
Yes, I'm thinking about. I haven't had the time, but now that I've looked at, well, I will think it through and do it.
Someday I might report too, actually.
Well, I'm not. I have no hang-ups about telling you that I'm not exactly happy right now about my service provider, and maybe I'm going to report too very soon. Well, thank you so much for shedding more light on this.
Thanks for having me on this program.
I've been talking to Tony Ojobo. He's the Director of Public Affairs at the Nigerian Communications Commission. We've been talking about the mobile number portability launched by the NCC 22 days ago. Of course, to deepen competition, ensure better service, better customer service, service delivery to telecom subscribers. That's been our package today on Business Morning. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Esther Obudaga. Bye for now.